My name's Andrew Stotz, and today I'm going to present my latest research called Peerless Performers. Now, this research, I was focused on the idea that it's hard to try to figure out which company is the best in Thailand on any particular measure. So, what I wanted to do was bring together all of my analysis ability and try to look at every company to say, who is the best? Well, the first question is the best on what? I decided to look at cash conversion cycle because that is an operational measure that has a lot of value. Now, basically with cash conversion cycle, you can think of it in terms of the company starts with cash, they convert it into inventory. When they convert it from raw materials to finished goods, they've added value. When they sell it, they've now got a margin, and then when they collect it, they have the cash. So that's the key of the cash conversion cycle, is how long or short is that process. Prefer that it be as short as possible. What I did is look at 120 companies in Thailand, the largest companies, and I tried to find out already, I had to focus on sectors first because cash conversion cycle can be very different depending on the different sectors. So I looked at what was best in sectors, number 1 and number 2 within each sector, and then after that I looked at improvements, I looked at other measures in relation to cash conversion cycle to try to figure out which ones I thought were the best. In the conclusion, I came up with 3 companies. The first one's PTT, and you can see the cash conversion cycle here shows about 7 days of inventory and 23 days for accounts receivable. So that's the period of 30 days, and then they've got 25 days of accounts payable. So their cash conversion cycle is only 5 days. That's very low. But that's not the lowest in Thailand. We have one manufacturing company, SNC, which has a -1 day cash conversion cycle. They've worked very hard to get it to that over the last 5 years. And then the final one is CPL, which has a -48-day cash conversion cycle. Like a lot of retail companies, customer walks into a 7-Eleven, pays in cash, but all the goods are on credit. So that's why a retail operation has a negative cash conversion cycle, and CPL is the master of this. Now, why is this important from an investor's perspective? Well, from an owner's perspective, you have to think that there's 2 types of capital to support the assets of a business. The first type is debt, and the second type is equity. Obviously, the less and less and less that we can get to have to put into the business to support the assets, the better. So we can look at it this way and basically see that in Thailand there's a 77%, or let's say $77 of capital are there to support $100 in assets. Well, in the case of PTT, it's about the same. But as we get down to SNC and to CPL, we see that it's only $63 to support $100. And in CPL's case, it's $39. $39 is critical. Where is that money coming from if it's not coming from capital? It only takes $39 to support $100 in assets. It's coming from the suppliers and the supplier credit, which is supporting 44 cents on the dollar, basically, or $44 relative to $100 in assets. In fact, suppliers put in more capital than shareholders do. That's a stunning revelation. Now, we can look at these over time and see the cash conversion cycle for CPL is the blue line, and it's been maintained pretty steady over the years, but has been negative for all that time. If we look at PTT, we can see that the cash conversion cycle has been improving, and in the case of SNC, they've taken it from about 20 days down to 0 or -1. So these 3 companies are the best that I can find in Thailand on cash conversion cycle. In the full report, I also compare them to regional companies to try to understand where these companies are relative to the region, and the fact is they're top in the region. And so they meet all measures of what I'm looking at to call them peerless performers. Now, I'll just highlight the rest of this report. I have two other points. The first one is I got a lot of questions about Staycon recently, as I put out a piece recently explaining why I own it. The main question has been about politics and whether this company's on the wrong side of the political spectrum and therefore isn't going to get business. The answer from my perspective is they are going to get business from the government over the next 3 to 5 years. First of all, we can see that they just won one piece of business, and that's highway number 3, which they just got. And we can see that when the Democrat Party was in power, all 3 of the majors got business. Now, that's another important point, which is that only 3 major companies in Thailand can really bid for these mega projects because all the other contractors are much smaller. But look at the financial condition of these companies. They're very different. Check out this chart. What you'll see on this is basically Staycon is in a better and better and better position relative to the amount of debt and cash they have on the balance sheet, and ITD and CK are in a worse and worse. In fact, ITD is going to disaster on a net debt to equity. So these companies cannot, ITD and CK, absorb all the business that's going to come out of the government. Therefore, I believe that Staycon's going to get some. And last, I'll just highlight that the Tisco profit, Tisco's been in my portfolio, the profit came out strong, but the key thing is that we've had a turnaround in that profit as the cost of funds have started to fall. So it continues to be a holding within my portfolio as well as Staycon. So that sums up Peerless Performers. I hope you like it. Thank you very much.